Hello, and welcome to the virtual scoping meetings for the proposed Mid-Breton Sediment Diversion Project. My name is Brad Laborde. I am the Core Regulatory Project Manager for the Mid-Breton Sediment Diversion Project Review and Environmental Impact Statement, or EIS. This presentation is available to you on the Core Mid-Breton webpage. It will also be part of our live events. However you choose to participate, myself and the Core Mid-Breton Review team thank you for sacrificing some of your time to actively participate and provide input on the proposed project. Ideally, the Corps would host these meetings in person. However, due to challenges with the ongoing public health crisis, we cannot do that at this time. The goals of this presentation and the scoping meetings are to 1. Provide you with brief details on CPRAs or the Coastal Protection and Restoration Authority of Louisiana's proposed Mid-Breton Sediment Diversion Project. Following my presentation, Brad Barth of CPRA will provide more details on their proposed project and CPRA's overall mission. 2. Explain the Corps review process, including our NEPA or National Environmental Policy Act review. 3. And most importantly, provide you with a platform to answer any questions you may have so you can adequately prepare your scoping comments. This presentation, along with additional visual aids and a project fact sheet, are available on the Corps of Engineers New Orleans District Mid-Breton webpage. If interested, please review this information and, if you can, participate in one of our live events scheduled for July 14th, 15th, and 16th. During these 3 live events, participants can call in to listen using the number and access codes shown here. Additionally, participants using the internet can go to the Core Mid-Breton webpage and click on the appropriate link to direct you to the web meeting. From there, questions can be submitted using the chat box in the WebEx online platform. During live events, a moderator will relay questions for Corps or CPRA representatives to answer. All 3 meetings will be recorded and posted on the Core Mid-Breton webpage. Your participation in our scheduled live events is for informational purposes. It does not count as your official scoping comment. Your scoping comments can be submitted by traditional mail, email, or by telephone as shown here. Here is a screenshot of the Core Mid-Breton webpage. The main section has summary and schedule information. All scoping meeting info will be on the left. You can click the Submit Scoping Question box prior to our live events to send us a question to be answered during the live meetings. On the right side of the web page, you will see information about how to submit your official scoping comments. The 2 links at the bottom are for the Core Mid-Breton web page and the permitting dashboard. These 2 links should be the top 2 results if you Google Core Mid-Breton. The permitting dashboard allows interested parties to track our progress during the Mid-Breton Sediment Diversion Project review. Be sure to periodically check this link after the scoping process to monitor our progress. CPRA has proposed to construct, operate, and maintain the Mid-Breton Sediment Diversion Project. The concept of diversions has been studied as a coastal restoration tool for some time now. Coastal Louisiana currently has 2 freshwater diversions in operation, Davis Pond on the west bank and Carnarvon on the east bank. CPRA is proposing Mid-Breton as a sediment diversion designed to convey water at volumes up to 75,000 cubic feet per second, or CFS, depending on Mississippi River level and flow rates. When the diversion structure is closed, a base flow of up to 5,000 CFS is proposed. If constructed, the project footprint would be on the east bank near Wills Point in Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana. At this point, you may be asking yourself, if this is a CPRA project, why is the Corps of Engineers involved? Well, the Corps is directed to by Congress via the Rivers and Harbors Act and the Clean Water Act. If a member of the general public has an action or project that may impact a Corps Civil Works project, one must obtain a Section 408 permission from the Corps. This includes any federally mandated levee or waterway. The applicant must demonstrate that the proposed activity will not be injurious to the public's interest and will not impair the usefulness of the federal project. If a member of the public has an action or project that obstructs or alters a navigable waterway, such as a dock, pier, or water conveyance, it would require a Section 10 permit, as the Corps regulatory program is tasked with maintaining navigation in U.S. waters. Similarly, if a member of the general public has an action or project that requires excavating and/or filling into jurisdictional wetlands, a Section 404 permit would be required. It must be demonstrated that the project is in the public's interest and steps have been taken to avoid and minimize adverse impacts to our nation's wetlands, and, if required, provide compensatory mitigation for any outstanding wetland impacts to proceed. During all permit reviews and during the Mid-Breton sediment diversion review, the Corps regulatory staff remains neutral and independent in our decision-making. Our mission is to make permit decisions off best available science, engineering standards, and professional judgment. Again, the Corps is neither for or against this or any other application we review. Okay, so here is CPRA's proposed project Mid-Breton sediment diversion footprint using Mardi Gras colors. In LSU purple, you have the full construction footprint. Within that, in LSU gold, you can see the outline of the actual structure and changes to LA 39. In two-lane green, CPRA anticipates modifications to the existing pump station along this back levee. If you think back to the previous slide, CPRA hit the permitting trifecta requiring a Section 10 404 permit and a Section 408 permission. To better understand, you can break the project into three segments. One, the area within and along the Mississippi River to the Mississippi River levee has Section 10, 404, and 408 interests. Two, between the Mississippi River and the back levee, where there are impacts to Section 404 wetlands. And three, the outfall area into Breton Sound, where Section 10 and 404 would apply, with perhaps some 408 interest too. Here, a conveyance structure extends through wetlands to Oak River. This slide offers two zoomed-out shots of the project area. On the left, you can see the project footprint and CPRA's anticipated transition area in white. This is where deltaic processes can be expected based on CPRA's preliminary estimates. Additional water quality and salinity impacts are anticipated outside this area. On the right, you can get a better view of the project location with reference to the New Orleans metropolitan area to the top left. Following the Mississippi River, you can see the project location. The Breton Sound Basin and the Mississippi River Basin in Plaquemines and St. Bernard parishes are where most impacts will be. How far impacts may go to the east and northeast into the Pontchartrain Basin and Chandelier Sound, if at all, is unknown at this time. The Corps is independently reviewing all of CPRA's models to better understand the extent of impacts, including land building and accretion, storm surge, and aquatic resources, to determine the overall beneficial and adverse impacts associated with CPRA's project. So now that we've discussed Section 408 permissions and the Section 10 and 404 permits, it's important to know what our decision-making tool is, and that is NEPA, the National Environmental Policy Act. The NEPA process and documents serve as our evaluation and decision-making tool. The Corps is the lead federal agency for this effort. A third-party contractor has been selected to help write and independently review CPRA's Mid-Breton sediment diversion project. The level of our NEPA review is dependent on the impacts. In this case, the Corps has already determined that this project could significantly affect the quality of the human environment, requiring an EIS or environmental impact statement. An EIS is a detailed study of a project's potential impacts to the human environment. As the Corps, as the lead federal agency, is in charge of drafting the EIS in coordination with the federal cooperating agencies. The scoping comments you provide will help us determine the appropriate amount of detail for each specific resources to be impacted. The end result or outputs from the EIS will be included into a record or decision, or ROD, which would announce the core permitting decision in conjunction with other federal laws. Typically, the most important details in an EIS can be found in chapters 1 through 4. Chapter 1 outlines a project's purpose and need statement. That explains why a particular project is being pursued. Chapter 2, the Alternatives section, outlines the alternative projects that will be examined in the EIS analysis. Chapter 3, Affected Environment, is a description of the project area's existing conditions and trends. Chapter 4, Environmental Consequences, and perhaps the most important part of the EIS, analyzes the impacts of the proposed project and alternatives, including the no-action alternative. For the Mid-Breton Sediment Diversion EIS, the Corps, in coordination with our federal cooperating agencies, established a purpose and need statement based off the one provided by CPRA in their permit application. From there, we evaluated potential alternatives. CPRA has provided an alternatives analysis for Corps review. The Corps, in coordination with the federal cooperating agencies, did an independent review of alternatives from prior studies, the CPRA submittal, and evaluated other potential coastal restoration tools. Our alternatives analysis is not complete. It is not complete until we also evaluate alternatives provided during this scoping process. Reasonable alternatives received during scoping will be given the same considerations established during our preliminary review. After preliminary review, the list of alternatives to be evaluated in the EIS are sediment diversions with maximum flows of 35,000 CFS, 75,000 CFS, the applicant's preferred alternative, and 115,000 CFS. Two alternative base flows are also being evaluated, a 2,500 CFS and 5,000 CFS base flow scenario. To wrap up, the scoping process is the public's opportunity to tell the Corps what you want to see addressed in the EIS. You play a central role in the regulatory process. Particularly, if you've listened to my presentation this long, please submit your comments by email or traditional mail. You can also submit a verbal comment at 1-855-MID-BRET. The number allows 4 minutes for your comment. Verbal comments will be transcribed and included into the permit record. Verbal comments can be provided in multiple different languages and later translated. Also, if you're viewing this before our live events, please participate in one if you can. We will be addressing your questions during these times. Public involvement does not end with scoping. While preliminary work on the EIS has begun, we are early in the EIS process, which starts with public scoping. Once scoping is complete, CPRA will provide all project modeling material and a series of technical reports. The Corps, with the help of the third-party contractor and cooperating federal and state agencies, will independently review CPRA's material along with other best available science to draft the EIS. The draft EIS is scheduled to be complete in fall 2022. Shortly after the draft EIS, the Corps will host a public hearing. The Corps will then revise the draft EIS based off public hearing feedback to produce the final EIS, currently scheduled in the fall of 2023. Then the final EIS will go for public review before the all-important permit and record of decision, currently scheduled for January 2024. The permit decision can be a denial, proffering a least damaging alternative examined in the EIS, or approval of CPRA's preferred alternative. Lastly, I want to leave you with a list of potential issues that we will address along with your concerns. This list is part of the visual aids we have available to you on the Corps Mid-Breton webpage. When providing your scoping comment, please consider the following questions. What important issues, resources, and impacts should be considered in the EIS? What alternatives or modifications to the existing proposal should be considered in the EIS? And if there are other problems or opportunities the Corps should be aware of. This concludes my presentation. Thank you for your participation and be safe during these times. Now I will hand it over to Brad Barth from CPRA. Thank you.